I just got off the road, stopped to take a break from driving because I have a math problem that I need to figure out. And so I have to stop the truck to do that with the calculator. It is really important that I get that number. I like math, I'm good at math, and if there's a certain calculation about something that that I need to use my hands and a calculator to figure it all out because the numbers are too big, then it's my mission to get that calculation. I have to make it. I can't avoid it, you know. I literally stopped driving to pull over to do math. Math is more enjoyable to me than driving. 100%. And trucking's mostly math, so I'm tired of the math of trucking and calculating distances and fuel and all that stuff. I do that all day long. Now I have another math problem. What math problem is it that I'm trying to figure out? I want to make sure that my calculations are correct about the square footage of my roof on the house I want to build for how much water it is. So I think I've been making a wrong calculation, and some of the information that I got I assumed was correct, and according to my calculations, the information about how many gallons of water are in an inch of rain I think are wrong, because if you look at a cubic foot of water is equivalent to how many gallons. So I was looking at the square footage of my roof. Let's say I have 100 square feet of roof, and then I have an inch of rain on top of it. So it's 100 square feet. So that is equivalent to 31 point something feet times 31. That's 1,000 or something like that. Whatever it is, I'd get my calculator out. So let's go. It's hundreds. It's 10 times 10 times 1 inch. So you can kind of convert that into that inch into feet, or the feet into inches. We'll just do the inch into feet, which is 0.083 feet. And I have a calculator here on my Driver Tech. I have a calculator in here, and I have a calculator on here. I use two calculators at the same time so I can shift numbers around without actually writing it down on paper. But so we do 1 inch divided by 12 equals 0.083333333 feet times 100 gives me 8.333333 cubic feet, and there is 7.48 gallons per cubic foot, or right? So I have 8.33 cubic feet times 7.48 equals 62.3 gallons of water in 1 inch of rain on a 100 square foot roof. So 100 square feet with 1 inch on top of it of just water was equal to 62.3 gallons. So now my roof, this is what I was pulling over to get to. The roof that I want, I calculated all the cubic feet in the house and the size. I even did it in cubic feet for the house that I'm building. I drew it out on paper, and I calculated the square footage, I calculated cubic footage, and since it's a pyramid, it's a little bit different to calculate square footage on something that doesn't have even sides on it. You know why? It's 10 feet, it's 100 square feet on top and 400 square feet on the bottom. With what are those angles, or the length of those angles? And I'm going to have it 8 foot tall, so it gives me a 13 foot length piece of wood that I need to make this angle here. So I get the base, and then the top of the pyramid. Now I got this angle. How long of a piece of wood do I need? It's 13 feet, and then I'll have to adjust for putting it on the joists, the floor joists, and it's all that kinds of stuff. So I've got the measurements for the boards that I need to construct the frame of my house. I've got the measurements for the foundation, how much cement I'm going to need to meet building codes, because it's going to be, maybe it's a little bit bigger. So I'm going to have to make sure that I have a foundation for the building codes to get the permits, and I have the plans and everything come out. So when I go in and talk to the building code specialist people, the ones that are going to give me the permit, I got to have basic plans out so that they can do that. And I'm going to send a building inspector out to inspect it. So I got to make sure I make the building inspector happy. I think that's going to go a lot easier, seeing that I already had the plans and calculated to make sure everything was safe. It's going to take a whole huge workload off the building inspector. And as long as everything initially looks great, I think if there's any imperfections somewhere, they won't get so picky. It's like a field day in the Marine Corps. If they walk into your room and everything looks clean and they don't find any dust, that's as much of the inspection as there is. They go ahead and they find one thing wrong, they start looking for something else, and they start looking for something else, and there's a really good possibility that they're going to find it. If I was inspecting a room for cleanliness, I would look for areas where people would normally probably skip and avoid, and find all kinds of stuff that wasn't clean, and find all kinds of dirt, and what somebody else thought was clean wasn't completely clean. Just like the house, I think my house is completely built and I did everything right, building inspector will probably find something wrong with it. So I want to make sure that I become the building inspector and the builder and the contractor and everything. So what was I getting at? I stopped her to do a math problem and I start talking. So how many square feet is my roof? So I have a 20-foot base and a 10-foot at the top, and then these two sides. So I calculated it's each side of my house and the walls are 400 square feet, and then the top is 100 square feet. Right? That's what I wrote down. I did all the math. So let's just say 400 times 4 is 1600 plus 100 is 17. Uh-oh, somebody's almost backed into somebody's truck. A pickup truck pulling an old rusty Bel Air. It's like a 1959 Chevy Bel Air. It's all rusty. It looks good. It's got a good top on it. Glass is good. It's gonna be a restoration project, but it almost backed into the truck next to me. Anyway, so I've got 1,700 square feet on top of there times 1 inch of rain. So that's what I want to calculate per inch of rain, and then I'm going to calculate my annual rainfall for the area where I buy my property to get a good average for how much rain I'll be able to collect off the roof of the house that I built. So I've got 1,700 square feet times, what was that number? 0.0833333, a whole bunch of times, gives me cubic feet per inch of water. It gets 141.66661 cubic feet times 7.48 equals 1,059.6662428 gallons. So we'll just round up to 1,060 gallons per inch of rain. Now I want to move to an area where it rains 30 inches of rain, of actual liquid precipitation, not including snow. Let's go with 25 inches to accommodate. So I've got an average of 25 inches of rainfall per year, and so I need to multiply 1,060 times 25 inches. It's going to give me 26,491.65607 gallons. So 26,000, we'll just give it a little bit more, 491, round it to 500. So 26,500 gallons of water will fall on my 1,700 square foot roof in an area, in a region that rains 25 inches of rain a year. That's how much water I can get annually. Now I can calculate, now that I know that I'm getting 1,060 gallons of water off the roof. We'll consider some water loss and runoff that my barrels are already full, and I had to skip some of the rain. I couldn't collect every drop of it, so my barrels got full, and so I missed some rain or something like that. I got so many 55-gallon drums. I've used a bunch, and I keep using them to water my plants in my garden and to bathe and do other things, and I fill some more up. Let's just slice off 60 gallons per inch of rain. It's one barrel. I mean, that's a lot of water. It can rain an inch in a day, easy. In a lot of places it can rain a couple inches, and that's flood zones. You know, big storm comes through, it's a lot of water. So 1,000 gallons for each inch. 25 inches is 25,000 gallons. How many gallons am I going to need for my garden? According to, how much is going to evaporate out of it. If I'm using soil, there's a good chance that the soil is going to work like a sponge and hold a lot of moisture. But if I put some plastic over the top of the soil to hold that moisture down in there, that'll be good. I still need to get some air and oxygen in the soil, so it can't be too tight, but it will help ease that, help slow the evaporation process so that I don't use up too much, lose too much water to evaporation. With the hydroponic garden, I'm still going to have an evaporation rate because they're not completely sealed containers. It's getting dark, right? It's not that much darker, but I'm losing light here. It's bright enough outside. Battery died, right? Figures. I need to charge this. Let's show you outside. Let's get a 12-minute video here. See, it's not very dark out there, but on this side, look how dark it is inside my truck, and it's a lot lighter than that. This just doesn't pick up low light levels. So if I do this way, you still can't see me. It's the issue I have. If I put it this way, light's an issue. So a lot of things about water, my water calculations on my property. Sorry about the noise and creaking sounds, and how much water I'm going to be able to use. How many gallons per minute can I pump in a water pump to turn a wheel, to turn an AC generator, to charge a battery. See, and if I get a solar panel that charges a battery that runs a water pump, and when the sun's not out, make sure that battery has enough charge to run overnight, to run that pump, to pump the water to the top, which is going to turn an AC generator, which is going to charge a battery, either a second battery or the same battery. So the charge, the charge rate versus the consumption of the usage, the wattage of that pump, and its amperage, amp hours of use, calculate that I'm going to be able to sustain how much power. Depends on how many batteries I have, how much I can charge. If I get a couple 12 volt 900 amp hour deep cycle batteries, like the ones that you put in boats, I'm going to have so much time. Depends on what I'm using. I just basically need to run that pump, which is also going to run a few LED lights, which are going to be 7 watts to like 12 watts. We'll just a piece. So we'll just say I use 3 lights, and for a total of 21 or 25 watts an hour, and a pump that runs 10 watts or maybe even 40 watts, depends. So I gotta say 100 watts an hour. It's basically one standard light bulb is about as much power as I'm gonna need to use for a certain time, and I'm not gonna use it all the time. Just run some lights. If I run an indoor light that's 400 watt bulb, I can grow all kinds of plants with 400 watts. And it is getting dark in here really fast, and it drives me nuts. It was plenty light at the beginning of this video, and within 15 minutes, like, I'm just disappearing into the dark. I can turn this light off and you can't even see me now. That's how quick the light's going. The sun sets, so it'll be another 15 minutes, half an hour, and it'll be pretty much dark. You can't see nothing. So. Math. I do math all the time. I do non-stop math calculations. Hypotenuse of a triangle is important to me for calculating square footage and space for different size containers, so I know exactly how much material to buy when I go to the store, so I'll know exactly what my expenses are going to be, and I won't run into any problems. I'm completely self-reliant to build a completely self-sufficient or self-sustainable property, and any miscalculations here and there are going to reveal where I'm going to have issues and problems. So the more I calculate all the dimensions and the materials and everything that's going to exist on this land, I put that all together and say, this is what it is and this is what I'll need. That way I know when I can start and what I'm going to need to do in the future to make sure that this stays sustainable. Because it's not, nothing is 100% sustainable. Just like perpetual motion doesn't exist, so you're going to have to put some energy into it. But how much energy am I going to have to put into this to keep it going? We want to make that the minimum. So I could completely be a minimalist and do absolutely nothing. It would look like I'm just sitting around, but you could just sit around and survive and grow and be healthy. And not only that, that's going to produce more and use less. It's a much more efficient and sufficient way to live. If I want extra add-on lifestyle quality things that go into the movie theater, well, then I can go to work to get money to go to the movie theater or sell some produce or do some work or some labor, and that would be by choice to acquire things that I want instead of by force to sustain, the essential living components. So you can't, right now, going to work and getting a job seems like the cost of living is too high and nobody can afford to live. Like, they're just fighting to survive. What they're really doing is fighting to maintain their lifestyles. So I can completely adapt and change my lifestyle. I have no problem. I've been on a vegan diet before, so going on to a vegan diet is not a problem for me. I've done it, and I know how I feel after I've sustained a vegan diet. That nutrition, totally worth it. Totally worth it. I guarantee that you will feel awesome on a vegan diet. You're going to substitute some taste on some foods, but there's a lot of recipes out there that I don't know on how to make a lot of fruits and vegetables and stuff taste really, really good, and you'll get used to that food. And I suggest taking a transition into it, because your body might need to adjust to those balances. Like, I just had a bunch of vegetables and stuff, and my body was kind of like, oh my God, what is this? And I actually felt tired, like I can rest, and wanted to go to sleep and take naps. I noticed that difference right away after I got some nutrition. Like, my body wanted to rest, and I think it's just to replenish stuff. It's some things that it needs to do while you're sleeping. So I calculate everything, every little tiny detail. It's hard for me to explain and talk about stuff because everything is in such detail. If I just remember just the basic words and sayings, and I just regurgitated something that I read, then it would be easy for me to say that. But would I fully understand and comprehend what I'm saying, or am I just saying something that sounds smart that somebody else made? These are my own ideas, my own creation, my own calculations. I drew the lines for it. I did the math for it. This is how the life that's going to work and fit and suit me and how I want to live my life. I'm the cookie cutter of my life, not the government. The government isn't going to cut out, this is the way you need to live according to the way everybody else lives. I can be a separate component and still contribute to society and say, this is what I'm going to contribute. You're not going to tell me where I work, when I work, how I work, what I'm going to get, what's my value in my labor, and whether or not I'm going to live a fulfilled, happy, successful life, or have to go down in the pits and slave away and be miserable, because that's just part of work. We all have to be miserable until we retire, and if we don't do our jobs and save the money, then that last little end of our life that we get to retire is all that we're going to get, and there's no future there anymore. You're probably going to be just as miserable in the end of your life as you were in the beginning of your life, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to be miserable. I can learn to be happy with just the absolute necessities and essentials, none of the other stuff. And that's what it should take. You shouldn't have to have things to make you happy. You should just be happy being alive. So I practice on letting go of all the stuff that I don't have. If I don't have this and I feel like I want to get it, that's saying that I'm not satisfied. I need to learn how to be satisfied without it. So it's a discipline, it's a practice. Like Buddhism teaches a lot about like meditation, that you can really feel fulfilled and happy by just sitting there doing nothing, and that is a good thing to do, and it's very healthy to do. It's in some other people's perspective, be like, you're just sitting on your butt on the couch doing nothing. Why don't you get up and go to work and do something? You know what? Sitting somewhere and just breathing is probably better. I would say absolutely it is better than going and doing something that is wasteful. So if you really have nothing productive to do, don't go out and be destructive or go and consume things just because you're not doing something. It is okay to do nothing. You can sit there and be happy. That's all. That's what I'm just sitting here being happy and joyful. That would be my response. Why don't you get off your butt and go do something? Well, I am doing something. I am being patient. I am doing rest. I am doing patience. I am doing breathing exercises. I am practicing being calm. So thanks. And if you want some help calculating how much water you need for a certain project or how much space you're going to need for something, I'd be more than happy to help you out on that and put the math out. I just need to get some information from you, and then I'll draw it out a picture and get the accurate calculations and find out what materials that you need to make your idea come to life.